I mean, back in the day, especially like painting in Manhattan, for example, there were certain spots that everyone always did. There was a lot of parking lots, like I remember on 18th Street, that area, like where Limelight was. Everybody wanted to do those spots, and you would run into people, and sometimes you get into a fight, or but you would run into writers, Like I don't know if that happens nowadays with the newer people, but back then, yeah, you would run into people, and also it was a lot like beef was different back then. Like beef was something you just accepted. It just happened. Like it was like the more you got up, the more beef you had, and 90% of the time you didn't even know why. So I don't want to talk about who or what, but yeah, then it was a lot of maintenance, like repairing your fillings and stuff like that, which I just gave up on. I was just like, as soon as I did it, I'm done. Boom, and then I would just move on to the next one. I wouldn't fix it anymore. I'd be like, fuck it.
Yeah. How would you approach beef back then, though, when you would
Um,
engage it?
no, I mean, if I had beef with someone, if it was like a one-time thing, somebody goes over you, some toy shit, they're trying to get attention, I wouldn't give them no play because then, they're just trying to get a name,
Yeah.
cheap fame off you. But if it turned into like a war, we went all in. Um, I don't want to talk about it too
Of
much to
course.
ignite, old things. But yeah, it was what it was back then. You don't really see it often anymore. I don't think. I mean, there was I don't know. The last war that I had was I don't want to talk bad about him because he's deceased. Is Kes 5, rest in peace. We just were both put against each other from outside forces, and it was all regarding the death of VE, which a lot of people speculate what happened and this and that, and the truth is nobody knows what happened. I probably know more than anybody because I've dealt with the homicide on his case. I was there, in the hospital. I seen him dead in the hospital with his eyes open, the bullet hole in his rib cage, and he had no clothes on because they ripped all his clothes off when they brought him into the ER to try to find out, where he was bleeding or whatever. That's the procedure. And yeah, and then his daughter was born right away after that, so he never got to see her. And now she's 27 years old with 2 kids,
Wow.
so it's bugged out, and she looks just like him. Like it's insane. Like like the eyes, the nose. Yeah, it's bugged out.
How do you deal with a loss like that? How did you deal with a loss like that?
Um, for a long time, I did what every old school New Yorker did, man. I just put an H on my back and handled it. Walk, keep it tough, shoulders up, chin up. And, I still do that, but I didn't realize until like recently how much PTSD and how much anger I have. Like everyone that meets me is like, "Oh, you're such a like humble dude," but like, yo, deep down, I just realized this is a realization I really made like this year.
Yeah.
I'm deep down, I'm a very angry human being, and when something happens in my life or somebody does something wrong to me, that comes out of me in a really bad way. Like I have no off switch when it comes to the anger, but it's hard to get me there. But it's all pent up. So then when something does trigger the release, it just comes out. Like I put myself in harm's way to do somebody bad. If it's justified in my mind. And but I I started doing therapy because someone suggested it because they said I had so much loss and shit. Look, my younger brother died, but VE, DG. There's so many people. You know, Asp, and then Zexor. I remember when Zexor was born. You know what I mean? And it's like I was friends with his dad. His dad was there when I got my tag in 1988, and it's like they both died very similar circumstances, which is crazy. But overall, the point I'm trying to make is that I did some therapy, and the therapist pointed something out that I have a lot of loss in my life, and that I probably have some kind of survivor's guilt or PTSD and shit like that from all the violence and things like that, and being locked up, and all this combination of all this like stuff that creates anxiety that's never really dealt with turns to PTSD and anger, and anger creates the anxiety. And then she made me count all the funeral cards of the funerals I went to, and the number is 55 of 50, that I went to. The number of people that passed is probably higher because there's a few people that passed away that I did not go to their funerals, but because they either died in a different state or something like that. But yeah, and that number doesn't count like my aunts and uncles or grandfathers like that died of natural causes. It was people that died before they should have. Car accidents, murders, drug overdoses. Pretty much that's it. Maybe like two or three died from like cancer, like normal things. Not normal, but you know what I mean, like
Yeah.
life. But the rest was, didn't have to be.
How do you find peace throughout this storm?
I'm still trying to figure that out.
Do you think graffiti helps you?
Graffiti is the only time. This is a good question that you asked me, because this is another realization that I made, is that when I'm doing graffiti, especially like real illegal graffiti, I'm not talking about like murals. Murals are cool, fun, and stuff like that. But when I'm doing like the real shit, I don't have anxiety. I'm not thinking about the past. I'm not thinking about the future. I'm in the moment. I'm present, and I feel good, and that's why I still do it, and I don't stop doing it. This is something there that, yeah, like I said, I'm in the moment. I'm present. I'm not, because most people aren't present in life. People are always in their head like, oh, what about this? What about that? The future or the past, and it's hard to be present and enjoy every moment. But like I said, when I'm bombing, I'm present. I'm like happy inside. Like there's an energy that comes with it that's beautiful. I mean, and you can't buy it, and you can't cheat it, and you can't fake that shit. It's like the real shit. And I respect all the people that are bombing, like really bombing. I love that shit. It's raw, it's uncut. So yeah.
I think that being present is probably one of the most difficult things to do, and um, living in the past and thinking about the past, or living in the future and worrying about what that's going to be like because of the unpredictable nature of it, brings so much stress already, aside from everything else. And I think that one of the greatest treasures is just being able to be right now in a almost like meditative, animalistic state where you're not thinking about tomorrow, you're not thinking about what's next, you're not thinking about things really, you're just being. And I find that probably a lot of people feel that within graffiti, because especially, for example, you talk about the trains, like you're in a situation, you're kind of in a situation, you're not just on the street where you walk every day. There's elements of real danger. People have been burned in there, people have died touching the third rail, people have been smashed by.
Yeah,
You have to be
DG died that way.
super aware. Your focus has to be almost like a sniper to keep yourself safe, and that alone is going to make you act in a way where you're forced to be present. um and that's a nice feeling, which is mad strange, right? Because you're putting yourself in a fucked up situation, but then you'll feel more peace than if you were at home.